chân là tốt chân.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Good to see everybody. Hope you're having a good day. It's nice and sunny here today. Tomorrow I gotta drive all the way up to Holton and take Smokey up to the veterinarian up there to get shots and get spayed. And why all the way up that way? Some of you probably asked. Well, because VZ has its own veterinarian place, and it's just like I could walk up there in like 10 minutes, but the reason being is that to get the shots that Smokey needs and to be spayed, they quoted me $900 to have that done. $900 fucking dollars, okay? So Melissa said that there's a person that goes around, a veterinarian, who, what I think it is that the state of Maine has a program where if you qualify, if this if veterinarian qualifies, they can get subsidized by the state for the cost of taking care of pets, to control the pet population. It's I think you could find it under the Department of Agriculture, I believe, is where it is. And so she gets money from the state for taking care of animals, and the customer only has to pay like $20 or $30. So I can get the shots and the having Smokey spayed for just $30, where I would have to pay $900 over at VZ Vet. Now I can see why they don't qualify, because a state is going to look for the cheapest veterinarians in order to subsidize. They're not just going to give to all the veterinarians, especially the ones that charge through the fucking nose like they do. They're going to find the ones that have a more reasonable price, and the state will give money to them to do this thing, because people have a concern about too many cats and too many dogs, and there are an abundant number of cats just roaming around free, and nobody seems to own them. I see 2 or 3 around here at any given time, and I don't know if they belong to somebody, but I don't see them most of the time during the winter, but during the summer they're everywhere. I see them out in the fields, and I see them chasing bugs and all kinds of crap. None of them have collars, so I don't think any of them own them. So I don't know. See, people around here, when they move, if they have a pet, if they go to a place where that doesn't allow pets, they'll just, So what people have done is they created like websites for people who want cats for free, which is how I got Smokey. And because people just don't want to pay a ton of money to like the Humane Society for a cat. The last cat that I had, she was 7 years old, and so the price wasn't very high for her. She was, I think it was only $40-something. I think that was it. But for a young cat like this one, you're looking at well over $150 to almost $200 for a cat that young. Okay, so that's beyond a lot of people's budget around here. I mean, there's not a lot of wealthy people to speak of. So when you factor that in, and then you hit them with a $900 fee to get them, give them the shots that they're required to have, especially if you're living in an apartment, because every landlord wants your pet to have all the shots and everything, you're going to be paying a lot of money. So it's crazy that they force people to do this, and at the same time, on the other side of their mouth, they want to control the pet population. Okay, that doesn't incentivize pet control if you're going to make people spend everything they have to get that done. Okay, what people will do is they'll just not get the thing done, and the cats will have all kinds of babies or whatever, and they won't have their shots. And so, you know, what happens is the pet population proliferates even further. So some common sense has to be given to places like the VZ Vet and say, look, I don't know why, you know, you're charging so goddamn much money. You're not using NASA here to do a job that a lady in another place is doing here with equipment that's less than yours, okay, and doing it for less money. You know, that's the reason why they probably can't get subsidized by Maine, because they're too damn expensive. They just added a whole fucking wing onto that damn vet over here recently. And, you know, it's because they're making good money. I mean, that place is booked all the time. You drive by there any time of the day, and the parking lot is full. And so I just said, look, I'll drive all the way to Holton if I have to, and get this done and not have to pay through the nose for it. I mean, yeah, it's going to cost gas money and all that, but it's still going to be less than $900. It's going to be less than $500. It's going to be less than $300. Okay, so I figured, you know, what the hell? That's what I'll do. So tomorrow, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'll be taking her up there to get that done, and I'll be picking Melissa up on the way, because she'll be doing something up that way. So I'll pick her up, and we're going to go together up there to get that done. In the meantime, Smokey's been eating my plants, and she's been eating so much of it that she has diarrhea here. You know? So I had to take the plant down behind where I usually have a plant hanging there. I had to take it down so she'd stop jumping up there and chewing on the damn thing. Okay, it's one of them spider plants, I guess they call them, because they just keep growing, you know. And it says they're not poisonous to pets, but certainly they can't just eat and eat and eat and eat that damn thing, you know, because it's like anything else. If you eat like a bag of green apples, you're going to be in the bathroom for the rest of the week. You know? Same thing for a cat. You can't just have them eat that all the time. It's just once in a while. It's okay, especially if they're constipated. That's a good way to clear the bowels out. So, she's I took it down. She got mad. She was crying, standing up there, and she started trying to knock something down over there, and I sassed her there, and now she's sitting over here licking herself. You see, she's gonna sit there now while I'm doing my video here. Rat. So news here. I guess this morning the stock market reacted to the half-point interest rate hike from yesterday. Everybody thought that was going to be a good idea to fight inflation. Wrong. The Dow, I guess, overall dropped over 1,000 points, which is like, whoa, you know. And it's like I said, the economy wasn't doing as strong as the Democrats were saying, okay? If it was, it wouldn't have fell as far as it did, but it's a shaky market right now, okay? They're trying to come out of a lingering recession, and now they're talking about us going back into one now because of what happened today. They said if this happens again in the same quarter, then it's officially a recession. So, you know, like I'm saying, this threw a lot of cold water on the Democrats who've been trying to go around saying, oh, our economy's stronger than it's ever been. You know, I knew it wasn't, okay? I knew it wasn't, because like I told you before, when people can't buy the things that they need, you know, and all they can get barely is just enough food to survive and enough gas just to, you know, they're not happy. The economy's not happy. Nobody's buying. Nothing's moving. Okay, and when you've got a slow merchandise, market moving around. There's not a lot moving into the stores when that's slow, like it is now, because there's not a lot of truckers and stuff. Again, that only slows down the economy even more. So how they come up with this figure that we're doing better now than we haven't since in 50 years, I don't know where that comes from. I don't know who told them that or where they got that number from, but that's complete bullshit. Okay. And the Democrats need to stop lying about that, because I'm telling you, it doesn't look good for them, especially when they start running for to pick up seats this November. People are going to remember the things they've said about the economy, because I can tell you right now, the economy is not going to get better between now and November. Okay, it's just not. I mean, we're coming into summer and prices are still going up. Gas went up 10 cents here per gallon, and there's no talk anywhere about what we're going to do about that. Okay, there's more talk about how Russia's going to deal with all the sanctions they're dealing with than there is about how the United States is going to fare in the months to come with the economy slipping down again. So I feel like people, they're going to find that the travel industry is going to take a hit. Okay, they're saying, oh, people will be flying a lot more. Yeah, those who have the money to do it will, okay? But at the same time, they're going to be straddled for cash, or cash poor, as they say, the rest of the year. I'm sure a lot of people want to be able to go out and do the things they could do, because before, with COVID, people had to stay home or not travel much at all. Okay, so they're eager to go out and travel, so they're spending money they don't have to go out and do this stuff. Okay. And on top of that, the numbers of people getting COVID are jumping up again. Okay, we got over 1 million people that have died already from COVID here in the United States, and there's all kinds of more people now coming down with it, and that's because people are not wearing the masks anymore as much as they were. Okay, and they're mingling around inside buildings and stuff in large numbers, spreading it around, probably not washing their hands like they're most of the time like they're supposed to be doing, and so people want to put in their mind that the pandemic is over. It's not over. The pandemic is not over, and like I said before, it's never going to be over until everyone follows the instructions of the CDC, gets their vaccinations, starts to wear a mask. Okay. We can beat this if we do this. We can't have half the country following these safety procedures and the other half not. Okay, because all that's doing is creating new variants of the COVID virus and making the vaccinations that the rest of us got, pointless. Okay, we'll have to go through another round of these things again. And so, like I said, it's just, this is going to be a pandemic that's going to last for a very long time. Okay, they may come up with vaccines, but they're always going to have to come up with new ones. They're going to have to stay ahead of the ball for however long this will be. I probably won't see an end to this in my lifetime, and I'm sure a lot of people won't either that are younger than I am. But when you have a certain segment of society, okay, that simply refuse to understand the emergency of this, and the need to be sensible, okay, instead of falling on lies and conspiracy theories. When you have people like that doing that, okay, you're hurting everybody else, even the ones that you don't even know, the ones who aren't even in your cabal of friends. You're just, you're hurting everybody, and it, the virus doesn't discriminate. It hits everybody, children, women, men, everybody. Okay, now what's going to happen when we start seeing animals getting this in large numbers? Is that what it's going to have to take to get people to be motivated to want to do something? Because when you see your pet die from it, okay, and there's no treatment for him or her or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it could get to that point, and then all of a sudden we're going to have a shortage of meat in the stores because the cows will get it, and you know what I'm saying? Why tempt fate is what I'm saying. Why do that? when we're asking you to get vaccinated and stuff, it's not just, for you, okay? It's to protect everybody, okay? It's to protect everybody and everything, okay? If we don't want to see this coronavirus get to the point where it can pierce all vaccinations and can infect anything living, okay? That's certainly a dystopian future that even rivals World War III and everybody's fear of the nuclear bomb. If you have a pandemic that can do that, there is no hope of recovering from it unless nature provided an immunity to a certain few people on this earth, okay? But, how they going to live, that's going to be a whole other story. Everything's poisoned. So it's a situation that people need to really think about and say, if we don't invest in protection today, we're going to pay for it tomorrow. Okay? It's just like, people with their money. Okay? If you don't save what you have now, okay, you're not going to have it when you need it, when times fall, when it's a rainy day. Okay? And people right now, they want to spend their money, they want to go places and stuff like that because they're sick and tired of being cooped up at home all the time. Well, that's the way a pandemic has to be treated. In case you didn't know, that's the only way we can fight a pandemic, is by keeping people away from the virus as best as we can, and that means quarantining. Okay? People don't like to do that because they feel like they're being locked up in a prison, but it's for your own safety. And be thankful that the police aren't coming to get you to put you into a forced quarantine, because then you'd really feel like you're in a prison. But at least they're asking you to keep yourself at home for a few days to make sure that you don't have it. Okay? So, like I said, the messaging needs to go back out there again. But I'm sure nobody wants to hear from Dr. Fauci again. Okay? They've demonized that man so bad now that he's the worst thing since Adolf Hitler. Okay? So they need to find somebody to speak for him and get people to understand that, look, the pandemic isn't over. We never said it was. It was a little safer for people to go out without wearing a mask, but it was our mistake. We should have never said that, because obviously everybody took that as, okay, the pandemic is over, take the mask off, and so now we've opened ourselves up to getting infected again. Okay? They never should have told people about not wearing the mask, because they took that as a green light that the pandemic was over, and it's never been over. And it won't be over for a long time. A lot of us will never see the end of it, okay? Because there's too many of us that don't want to believe that that's a problem, okay? So, yeah, we'll go into things, we'll go from the economy into the pandemic, okay? So, like I said, the economy is a thing that people lied about, saying that it was doing good. I knew it wasn't. They're just trying to, the Democrats are desperately trying to seize on whatever they can find to protect Biden from being scrutinized and being criticized, okay? Because they know the right wing is going to demonize him in some fucking way or another, okay? And because they're so paranoid about it, they're actually resorting to, building on a half-truth to make a story. And, that's going to backfire on them, and I think that's happened today. When they found out that they couldn't even raise the interest rate a half a point, and the friggin' stock market started to drop. Okay? So, like I said, like I told you, when people can't buy the things they want, okay, they're not happy, the economy's not doing good. That's the way we, the common people, judge how well an economy is doing, is by our buying power. If we can't buy, we can't agree that the economy's doing well, because that means they're not getting paid enough. Prices of things are too expensive. Okay, that all equals a bad economy in our minds. Don't tell us about what some guy in Wall Street thinks about the economy, about points going up and stock this and stock that. We don't understand that. That goes right over our head, because most of us don't play Wall Street. We don't judge the stability of our economy by how rich people are handling the money. We judge it by how the common person, which is the majority, are able to do things with their money. And right now, people aren't able to do much today with their money. A lot of people are still not going to be able to do a lot of things they want to do. Not because of the pandemic, but because gas is so high, they need food, and the price of food is high. You know, that's just how it is. So, let's see here. What's this here? So the Oath Keepers, they found that Oath Keepers tried to phone Trump on the January 6th riot. One of the members of their outfit had said in court. It says the Oath Keepers founder is facing seditious conspiracy charges. Tried to speak directly with President Trump on the night of January 6th. And implored an intermediary to tell the president to use militia groups to stop the transfer of power, a fellow Oath Keeper member said in court Wednesday. William Todd Wilson, a member of the far-right militia group, pleaded guilty Wednesday to seditious conspiracy and obstruction of an official proceeding in connection with the January 6th riot. He said in federal court that he joined the Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes in a suit at the Phoenix Park Hotel not far from the Capitol shortly after the attack, and listened as Rhodes called an unnamed Trump intermediary on speakerphone. As he listened, he heard Rhodes, quote, repeatedly implore the individual to tell Trump to call upon groups like the Oath Keepers to forcibly oppose a transfer of power, unquote. Wilson and the prosecutor said the person on the line, quote, denied Rhodes' request to speak directly with President Trump, unquote, according to the agreed-upon statement of offense in Wilson's case. Such a phone call, which Wilson said was made just after 5 p.m., would have taken place when rioters were still being cleared on the grounds of the Capitol after Trump tweeted a video calling the rioters, quote-unquote, very special, but before he tweeted at 6:01 p.m., quote, remember this day forever, unquote. Jonathan Mosley, a disbarred attorney who has worked with Rhodes, said Wednesday night that the Oath Keepers, quote, have always scoffed at the idea that they had any way to talk to Trump or his team, unquote. Attorneys for Rhodes, who has pleaded not guilty, did not immediately respond to requests for comment Wednesday night, but they pushed back in comments on to CNN. Quote, none of them still show evidence of an actual plan to do something, unquote, said Phillips Linder, one of the attorneys for Rhodes. Wilson has been cooperating with the FBI and Justice Department investigating into January 6th and agreed as part of his plea agreement to testify before the grand juries and at jury trials if necessary. Reporters from NBC and CNN were waiting outside the courtroom before Wilson's plea hearing Wednesday as Wilson, his lawyers, and government officials discussed the logistics of Wilson's coming testimony before a federal grand jury. Wilson was the third Oath Keeper member to plead guilty to seditious conspiracy. In a separate hearing following Wilson's plea guilty, the U.S. District Judge Amit Mehta agreed to release Arizona Oath Keeper Edward Vallejo, who also faces a seditious conspiracy charge until trial. The FBI has arrested nearly 800 people in connection with the January 6th attack on the Capitol, and more than 250 defendants have pleaded guilty. Federal authorities have the names of hundreds more who have not yet been arrested, and the Biden administration has requested more resources to prosecute cases already in the pipeline and the hundreds more that are expected to come. So, as you can see, I mean, the Oath Keepers, trying to get a hold of Trump, and Trump didn't want to hear from these people, okay? They were a tool for his cause, and once he unleashed them, what happened to them after that was of no concern of his. He wasn't going to talk to anybody from any of these extreme right-wing groups. No matter, while he was sitting at home or wherever watching this on television unfold. He didn't want to come out and tell people to stop it, okay? They had to twist his arm to film, to record him saying, for the people to go home, okay? And he couldn't even do that. They had to retake it 4 different times while they were recording it because they couldn't get him to seriously say that he wants them to stop, okay? So no, he wasn't going to take a call from anybody because he didn't give a shit about them. He didn't care about them. This wasn't about them out there rioting against him. This was all about him. Trump. It was all about him. And he was just waiting for doors to open where he could come through and overturn the election. That's all he cared about, was how the politicians were going to react over the rioting outside. Okay? But what we find out here is that the Oath Keepers they wanted to push Trump to go even further. Okay, they wanted him to just get the military involved in this thing, to ratchet up the level of the fighting outside to more to a bloodbath. Essentially, they were ready to go. So this group right here is a terrorist group. Okay, and every goddamn one of them that's a member of it has to be arrested, locked up. Okay, that's what we do with terrorists in this country. We don't negotiate with them. We don't comfort them because they happen to be an American. They are a danger to this country, just like the terrorists over in the Middle East can be a danger to this country. Okay, we got to take care of the ones here at home too. So, it's like I said, people who thought that the Oath Keepers and QAnon and all them were such legitimate and worthy people to listen to, they got to be watching this and they got to understand that what they thought of them is wrong. These people are not on your side. They have an agenda, and only their agenda is what matters. If you're not with them on their agenda, then you don't matter. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or not. Okay, they don't want nothing to do with you. If you're not going to take it to the next level with them, then they don't want it. They don't want nothing to do with you. Okay, that's what they are. So these people are not your friends. They are not allies to democracy or to the United States. Okay, these people are traitors and rebels that have to be put down, in some way, where we don't have to contend with them in the future. That's just how it is. All right, let's have a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Dear CEO, what's it gonna take for you to do something? Yeah, do you even care?
Climate change affects all of us.
This is your chance to do something good.
If I'm beaten and raped in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my rapist. If I am raped by my father, brother, or uncle and get pregnant in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my family abuser. This new law is so draconian that I can be prosecuted for having an abortion, and so can my doctors, friends, and family who advise me, or even the Uber driver who simply drives me to the clinic. This is madness. The same people who have been protesting and screaming, "My body, my choice," when it comes to the COVID vaccine, are now saying I don't have any control over my own body. Texas Republicans won't require a 12-year-old girl to wear a mask in school that may save her life and the lives of other children, but they will force her to keep a baby regardless of how she got pregnant, including rape and incest. I am a woman, and I have a constitutional right to make decisions for my own body. I am a woman, and I have a human right to refuse to give birth to my rapist's baby. I am a woman. This is my body. I am a woman. This is the United States of America. I am a woman. You do not own or control my mind or my body.
My body is my choice.
Shame on the men and women who passed this law, and shame on anyone who sits in silence while women suffer and die because of it.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Okay, well, I don't know, about how many people are aware of what happened with Dave Chappelle when they were having, what the hell was it that was going on over there? The awards for music and stuff like that. He was attacked while he was on stage. It was something much like what happened when Will Smith went up there and slapped Chris Rock. This time it was Dave Chappelle who was attacked. And, people were talking about how, why is this happening now? Why are people doing this on live television, running up on the stages and doing this stuff? And they're not really talking much about, at least I don't think they are. They're not really talking much about the this attack, even though it was a little bit more involved because friends of Chappelle, went up on a stage and beat back this guy, beat him up pretty bad, from what the pictures showed of how he looked after. People in the audience were just like, what is this Will Smith doing? It's like, well, did Will Smith actually open the door to this? Okay, because they got so much attention for it and now everybody else wants to do it? Or is this a sign of violence in our country escalating higher than it's been? And somebody, had Yahoo, had an expert, I guess, had this thing to say about that here. And this is from Yahoo News. Josh Myers wrote it, and it's entitled, "Here's What Experts Say is Causing the United States' Recent Spike in Violence." America has a violence problem, and it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. Last month, on April the 22nd, a gunman in Washington, D.C. opened fire at a college prep school from across the street, riddling it with more than 200 bullets and wounding 4 people. A mall shooting in South Carolina that same week wounded 10. A shooting on a Brooklyn subway earlier that month wounded over a dozen. New Orleans recently reported its bloodiest weekend in nearly 10 years. Overall, recent data shows that the United States experienced its largest ever recorded annual increase in homicides in 2020 compared to 2019, according to statistics from the FBI. The homicide rate rose nearly 30% in 2020 and increased again by 5% in 2021. Violent crimes such as mass shootings and assaults have also increased since 2019. In interviews with Yahoo News, several experts attributed the spike in violence to 3 factors. They say the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted all aspects of life, forcing nationwide lockdowns that led to increased stress and anxiety among the population. Dr. Howard Kurtz, professor of sociology and criminal justice at Southwest Oklahoma State University, believes that as people were locked away from the outside world, violence and frustration ensued. Quote, there was this plague mentality that has to take a toll on people, unquote, Kurtz told Yahoo News. Quote, then you start seeing increases in violent crime with a lack of social interaction, unquote. With COVID cases have plunged in the past few months and most lockdowns have ended, new variants and continued mask restrictions are still disrupting everyday life. 2 years after lockdowns began, people still cannot agree on mask guidance, and many are reaching their breaking point, Kurtz argued. Quote, we have people that are on edge, people that don't want to wear masks on public transportation in crowded indoor settings, he said. The climate lends itself to people taking matters into their own hands, unquote. Experts believe another reason for concern is the growing political polarization and distrust in U.S. institutions. Alongside this distrust is also a sense of lawlessness stemming from the police violence. Americans' lack of trust in law enforcement, education, the government, and the economy feeds social discord. Dennis Kinney, a professor at John Jay College, told Yahoo News, quote, the factors over the last couple of years have begun to erode the social contract that many people have formed, unquote, he said. Quote, as a result, you see conflict in society, unquote. In many ways, Americans are feeling frustrated with the U.S. government, the economy, and their fellow citizens. According to a March study from Gallup, roughly 3/4 of Americans are dissatisfied with where the country is heading. This has risen significantly since 2002, where the situation was nearly reversed, the study shows. Political polarization is pushing a narrative that Americans need to take matters into their own hands. Liberals and conservatives are slowly beginning to see each other as enemies rather than fellow Americans, Dr. Kurtz claimed. Quote, you have this group on the right that wants to take back the country and a group on the left that wants to defund law enforcement, unquote, he said. Quote, people who disagree are going to lash out, sometimes very violently, unquote. Looking back at many violent crimes that have happened in the past year, a common theme is gun violence. According to the FBI, over 38 million guns were sold in 2021, an increase of over 10 million since 2019. Violence can quickly turn into a homicide with the presence of firearms, according to a University of California at Irvine criminology professor Charis Kubrin. Quote, it's a really potent combination of both rise in violence and sales in guns, unquote, she said. Quote, absent a gun, you might just have an assault. Absent a gun, you might just have a robbery, unquote. Gun violence has dominated headlines in the past 2 years. The laws vary by state. The United States is one of the few countries where you can legally purchase and carry a firearm. Quote, we're in an environment where you can just buy a gun, unquote, Kurtz said. Quote, the more frightened we are, the more likely we are to buy more guns, unquote. Where do we go from here? It's all not bad news. Studies show murder rates are still 30% lower than they were during peaks in the 70s and 90s as rates of COVID-19 continue to drop in 2022. Experts say a trend in the pandemic's effects on crime and violence may follow. The reduction of COVID restrictions will take some of the pressure off all our shoulders, unquote, Kenny said. Josh Myers is a student at Syracuse University. So, okay. But let's keep this in mind while this is happening. People were already violent to begin with before the pandemic came around. Okay, they just shot some years at you before we even had this pandemic on how high the violence was growing in our country. Now, you introduce a pandemic in that, and what are you doing? You're putting violent people together in a contained environment. Okay, when you're quarantined, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, they're going to start looking at each other and wanting to fight. It's like putting two rabid dogs in the same cage. You know, okay, so you had all these angry people being, you know, pretty much corralled into small areas or in their homes where they have to look at each other. And you're asking them to wear masks and get shots and all this stuff. Okay, these are people who are really upset, uncooperative, okay, and they're going to get mad the more you tell them to do something they don't want to do. Yes, violence is going to go up more, and giving people in that state of mind a gun to play with is not a smart thing to do. So the fact that gun sales rose, okay, under Trump, only says that when Trump was president, he was escalating racial disparity in this country considerably. Okay, and when you do that, what happens? People go out and buy a gun. Okay, they're getting ready to shoot somebody they don't like for racial reasons, whatever. You know what I'm saying? That would explain part of the reason why so many guns were sold under his presidency, was because he made people fearful of each other again, or hate one another again. Okay, and so that encouraged gun sales. That's why that happened. Well, now that everybody's got all those guns from the Trump years, they're using them. Okay, because they're frustrated at politics. Yes, I can agree there that's a big factor, because right now people are not really happy with either party right now, no matter who, you know, which side is on your side. They're sick and tired of waiting for things to change, to get better. Okay, a whole generation of people have already passed away working on trying to make things better for this country, and it's still not better. Okay, and now the newer generations of people growing up are wondering what the fuck we couldn't do right to change what is. Okay, we're handing a world to them that, you know, is going to end up with global problems, you know, not just climate. Okay, then we got a pandemic that they have to contend with, because you know, those of us who were around when it started won't be around when it's over, whenever that'll be. Okay, you know, we've handed our kids and our grandkids a problem here that, you know, we did not take care of. Okay, we had the ability to take care of a lot of these things, but we didn't do it. And now, you know, they're looking at us like, why? What the hell was the problem? Okay, and so as these younger people are going out there and they have to fight to save what was achieved, like abortion rights, they got to go back out there and fight for that again. You know, because you got people in the Republican Party who are hell bent on bringing us back to the friggin' 1700s. Okay, you know, where you can burn women for being witches and stuff like that. I mean, that's what they're taking in this country back to. That's what they want. Okay, and in their states, if they can't get their way in the Supreme Court, it ain't going to matter to them, because their states are just going to go full bore red. Okay, so you know, you're looking at The Handmaid's Tale occurring in many of these states coming soon at a theater near you. Okay, because that's what's going to end up happening. All right. Because the governors are simply not interested in what the federal government wants. They simply want to do what they want, and to hell with the president and whatever. Okay, which only underscores, you know, a point I was making before about these states want to secede from the country. Let them. Okay, we don't need them as part of the United States. Okay, if you want to be a member of the United States, you have to agree by things that we have in precedent here. No slavery, okay, you can't have any of that. You got to allow people to have their fucking privacy, their rights. You can't take that away. You can't go around burning books, okay, and doing shit like that, okay? These things are not American, folks. None of the stuff that they're trying to do is American. This is not what the United States was designed to do, okay? We're supposed to have personal freedom, responsibility for ourselves. We take our own responsibility. We don't let somebody else decide for us what we do. How can a handful of people in the Supreme Court decide for millions of fucking women across the country what they can do with their body? It's like the minority telling the majority, oh, you can't do that anymore. That's it. It's over. It's done. Okay? Where is that? That's not democratic. That's not fucking democratic. How the hell does that even work in a country like that's supposed to have voting? You know, the person with the most votes wins. What they're doing in the Supreme Court is not democracy. Okay? How can they decide for millions of fucking... Do they know you? Do any of these people know you? Do they know all these millions of women out there? Have they come to your door and asked and sat down and talked to you about how you feel about... No. So what right do they have to do what they want to do, or what they're talking about, you know, behind closed doors, what they want to do? What right do any of those fuckers have to do that? Okay? I'm sorry. I don't agree with the principle behind that. That's, you know, okay, that's different. That's a whole different thing. Okay, it's different if you get the country to vote on it, but they don't want to do that because they know the majority would be against anti-abortion laws. They know that. The Republicans know that. So that's why they're going through the back door by trying to get the Supreme Court to overrule the majority of the country. Okay, and make it their way. That's dirty politics right there, folks. That's not democratic, and that just illustrates to you just how warped the Republican Party is, that they will go over your head to get what they want. Okay, they want the minority to dictate to the rest of us how things should be in this country. We can't allow that to go on anymore, because if we let them get away with it for just, you know, on this one thing, then God, you can bet your bottom dollar, if you still have a dollar, that they're going to come back after you for a lot of other things. Okay, it's not going to stop there. We know that. This water here that they're putting their toe in has got to bite back, because if they get the idea that they can get away with this, then God only knows what they're going to go after next. I mean, banning books like you thought they did a lot this year. Forget that. TV shows, they're going to have a say on that too. Books, forget it. Schools and what the teachers teach you, forget that. Okay, they're going to be wanting private schools for everybody. That means you're going to have to pay, you know, a huge amount of money to have your kids educated by some religious based school somewhere. Okay, and they want to indoctrinate your kid into a Christian religion. Okay, that's what they want to do. They don't want these kids going to school learning from, you know, paycheck teachers and stuff like that they, you know, that aren't controlled, you know, by, you know, the religious right. Okay, they've been attacking public schools for years. Okay, and they're on the verge of getting their way once they get past this hurdle of abortion. If they get their way on this, I guarantee you, people, you haven't seen the end of it yet. Okay, it's going to get worse. And if you don't fight now for this, to put a roadblock in front of them now, okay, it's going to be just like what happened on January the 6th. If they think they can get away with it on what they did that day, they're going to try again. Okay, so the punishments for these people that were involved in that have got to be stiff, to send a message to the rest of the public that we don't stand for that. We had a lawful election. The majority voted against Trump. The majority gets their way. That's how it is. The minority does not have to get its way all the time. They shouldn't, you know, by the principles of our country. And if we don't stand up to that, if we don't put a stop to the minority always getting what they want, then we're doomed. Because it's like somebody said, when the Republicans are in power, they do all kinds of damage to this country. When the Republicans are not in power, they do all kinds of damage to this country. So, you know, this party cannot continue to do what they've been doing. It's either going to have to toe the line, or they're going to have to kiss goodbye them being a political party, being kicked right out of the Senate, right out of Congress, right out of the whole game. Okay, and some other party, or if is going to have to take its place, something that's going to understand the rules of being an American, okay? And you can keep all your frickin' religious shit at home where it should be, and stop trying to throw it in our face, because not all of us agree on the same thing. But by forcing us to try to think your way, you're basically being a fascist, okay? And we can't let that go on in this country. I mean, Jesus, what's next? We're going to be declaring war on the whole fucking world because the rest of the world doesn't think the way we do. I mean, where does it end? People like that don't stop at just one thing. You know that. They're looking at, their long term is world domination here, especially when it's politicians talking. Shit. And you think the rest of the world's going to stay friends with us when they see our country deteriorate into that? No, my friends, you have to understand. Now is the time that a lot of our parents were saying was coming has now come, and we now have to put our foot down. We're going to have to decide what kind of an America we want and what kind of an American we want to be. Are you going to stand up against this? Okay, or are you just going to sit around at home and let the water continue to get hotter and hotter around you? So the violence spike in this country has a lot to do, in my opinion, about politics, because we saw what happened on January 6th, okay? We saw the anger. We know that anger's been boiling for a long time, for decades, okay? Thanks to the right wing and their talking heads and them constantly, victimizing themselves and making it seem like we got to fight to get back what's ours. Okay, and using people not listen to them as their tools to go out and spread the same kind of angst to their own kind. You know what I'm saying? They to spread it around. It's like a virus. Anger. It goes after everybody. Well, when you have 30, 40 years of that, people, your society is going to start walking around angry and bitter, and feeling like the American dream is unattainable, okay? And when they feel like that, then they start to side with the guy that is speaking what they're thinking. And usually that person has got his own agenda, but he's saying the right things they want to hear. And when they get into power, what do? They start chipping away at things, making it harder for Americans, and only justifying the anger of the Republican voter out there by saying, yeah, see, they showed us that it was going to end up this way, because Republicans, they always point at the Democrats, accusing them of things that they're already doing. Okay? So as they keep directing their anger to them, guess what happens? They keep backing the side that's eroding the country. And here we are now, after decades of that. It's sad that these Republicans don't see that, but that's how we got here. And now the Democrats are feeling like their backs are to the wall, because they don't play the same game, okay? And when they try, they get called out for it, because Democrats don't let the Democrat Party get away with bullshit, okay? We come out against them. We don't follow in line behind them like Republicans will do with their own candidates. They'll follow the person in charge right off a cliff, because, for them, it's do or die. But Democrats, on the other hand, it's like herding cats. You can't get them to come together on an issue. They all want their take on it to be heard. And like I said, that's how it is. And I guess, I don't know if you want to call that a flaw in our system of government. That's up to you to decide. Okay, I mean, we're trying to prove to the world that a democracy can exist. And right now, it's on shaky ground right now, and it's not looking too good that we can maintain it. And in all reality, we probably won't be able to, because no form of government has ever lasted forever, okay? Anything man creates is ultimately going to fail, okay? So there's no perfect way to govern people. We just have different methods to do it, but we always all seem to come to the same conclusion at the end as it collapses, okay? Because everybody wants to be the one in charge, and when they're not in charge, it creates bitterness. And then the bitterness becomes anger. And then before you know it, you got fanatical lunatics out there trying to tear everything down because they couldn't have it their way. It happens no matter what kind of government you have. Okay? So, Is the United States going to collapse? Yeah, in a way it will. Like I told you before, by the end of the century, the United States is going to be a whole different country than it is today. It's probably not even going to look the same, or even have the same shape in a lot of ways because of other things happening. But yes, the country will be different. For the way we look at it today, it's going to look probably dystopian. But sometimes you have to go through the darkness in order to get to the light. And I think the United States will have to go through a period of darkness so people can learn to appreciate the value of democracy all over again. And then when that happens, there'll be another movement to go that way, and the cycle continues, okay? You know, that's the way history has always laid it out for me, that, you know, when governments get weak, all right, and people see it, they see blood in the water, then it falls. And then somebody else creates another government, and that lasts for a while, and then that falls, okay? So we're going to have a lot of flags over this continent. The United States is a young country, so we're due for another civil war at some point in America. That's coming, all right? That's coming. There's no point in denying that. There will be another civil war in this country before it's all said and done. And it'll be a much bloodier, nastier war than it was the last time, because in this other civil war, it's not going to be just two sides, the North and the South. You're going to have a whole bunch of different factions out there fighting each other. So it's going to be a free-for-all practically, which means that an end to that war will take even longer than it took for the first Civil War to end in the United States. But that's what's coming. It's a sad reality, but, you know, logically it has to happen, you know. And if we try to put it off, I don't think it really helps us anyway, because what you're doing is you're just keeping people angry and, you know, longer and longer, and before you know it, you're going to wake up one morning and find the White House and all that has been, you know, eradicated and stuff, and, you know, and overnight you're going to be asked to fight. So, I mean, it's better to have, I think, a house cleaning, as they would call it in another way, than to continue on with the trend of corruption that goes on in our country now. You know, that's the only way you can get rid of it. Voting is not fast enough. We can't keep up with that quick enough to be able to make changes. You know, we have to wait years before we can have our say. And for some people, that's too soon. Okay, they don't want us to have a say at all, period. So, anyway, that's all I got to talk about for today, so I hope everybody has a great upcoming weekend, and I hope your weather is nice out there. For those people out west, I hope the problem with the drought gets resolved some way. Right now, it looks like it's going to be the worst drought since they started recording droughts, I guess, is from what I get from the news. So, I'm hoping there's people out there that have ideas, and now is the time to listen to these ideas, because it could mean people staying out there or moving back east or wherever, you know, because if they have to choose between powering their house or having their water to drink, you know what I'm saying, people, that's an impossible choice. You can't make people choose like that. So, you know, I hope things get better out there for you. You find some kind of answer somewhere along the way. It might mean a drastic answer, but there's definitely got to be one. So anyway, subscribe and comment, and I hope I see you all again. So take care.